Alright, hello everyone. I just started the stream for the Phantasma State of the Chain in a somewhat different format to what you guys are used to. Yeah, we've done a few of these with Wonder Man, and usually our process is to just let it go live and wait for a few people to join in and confirm that everything's running smoothly, the audio's fine, the video's fine, etc, etc. So yeah, just kind of give it a moment. Give everyone the chance to join in and confirm that you can hear me fine, etc, etc. Okay, I can see the stream myself, so I assume that it's all pretty good. Alright, so yeah, again, I'll just kind of give everyone a chance to jump in and let me know that they can hear it well. Docs, let me have a look. Let me get the chat loaded up here in OBS. Okay, good, cool, got the chat here as well. Alright, cool. Yeah, can someone maybe let me know in the chat that you can hear me fine? I mean, I could just hear it myself fine, but before I dive in and just get in the zone and... Okay, awesome, Gary, thank you very much. Cool, alright. Look, I'll be honest, it happened once with Wonder Man, where I dived in and I thought someone said it was okay, and I got about 5-10 minutes in and did a great introduction, and then I found out there was a problem, so I had to restart it. So okay, cool, good to know we're all good to go. All right, so yeah, all right, so where do we start here? We've got a few things to cover, so I guess we'll say firstly, welcome everyone for thank you for everyone for being involved, and thank you for taking time out to watch this video. It's been a bit of an interesting journey for us all. And I know it's been a tough kind of month or two for everyone in the community, so hopefully this video gives you all some insight into what's been going on behind the scenes and what our plans are, etc. Our original plan was to do a group AMA with Brooke, Bill, and myself, so I can kind of talk about a whole range of topics. But then through some conversations, it was kind of decided, and I sort of thought it might be good for me to jump on and do a little vision statement first, so that everyone's got a bit more context for when we do this kind of broader AMA, answering some more questions. So the things I've got some descriptions in this video, so you kind of know what I'll be talking about, but I was going to kind of go over those. So firstly, this video is going to be going for about an hour and a half. I'm kind of aiming for that. I don't have to stop it at a specific time, but I don't want it to kind of go too long. So if anything kind of goes over that time, then we could maybe do a follow-up video or cover that stuff in the AMA, so we'll see. You guys feel free to send feedback through as we go on, if there's anything you'd like to hear additional. Alright, so what I want to talk about is a little bit of the Phantasma vision history, how GOATi got involved in Phantasma and why, because this kind of relates to the vision statement, how GOATi now got involved in a more sort of a stewardship kind of role, a management kind of role, and then what are we kind of in the process of doing right now, and what is the vision for Phantasma and GOATi moving forward. At the end of the video, I'm going to be doing some Q&A, so that you guys have got the chance to kind of ask any questions if you like. I just kind of recommend to, again, look in the chat in the video description to see what I wanted to cover and what I don't want to cover. So I'm going to keep this very much focused on vision for Phantasma, the business strategy, the team, the task, the roadmap. What are we doing and why are we doing it, rather than specific questions around I don't know, token inflation or token swaps or upcoming features, etc. I think a lot of those questions that you might have relating to that might be answered already in my responses here, in my talk. All right, so where do we start? So let's start with the Phantasma sort of V1, right? So I think a lot of people in the community have maybe joined prior to Phantasma's initial ICO and launch, and maybe I know from other conversations that I've had that some people have forgotten some of the stuff that happened 5 years ago, even if they were involved. So I'm going to kind of recap that quickly, just because it'll give some more context to what I'm going to talk about later. So Phantasma originally actually started as you could almost say the social media or blockchain or something like that, right? Because focusing on doing email and data storage and e-commerce, like e-shops and video streaming. So it had a very different focus to the one that it has today. They did a raise in sort of middle of 2018, and then we got involved in Phantasma not long after that. We started changing them in late 2018, so it's like about 6 months or so after their initial launch, and then we signed a MOU, a memorandum of understanding with them in early 2019. We started discussing that in 2018. We finally got it sort of agreed in 2019. So yeah, again, like Phantasma originally had like this vision or this sales pitch as being like the social media, blockchain, email, etc. But there was like maybe a side focus on doing gaming. That was a thing that Sergio was keen on, etc. So we got talking to Phantasma in those early stages, and we had some alignments in vision. So that was the thing for us that got us involved in Phantasma, is that they were thinking about the same things that we were thinking about, like sort of streamlining transactions and making them like sort of like as frictionless as possible and cheap and easy. So that really suited what we wanted to do with our game design. We went over some of our designs for what we wanted to do with NFTs, and Phantasma agreed with that, and they had a similar sort of like vision and agenda. So with that said, and this was maybe up for debate, but like it seems like at around that stage, GOATi kind of like in some ways changed the vision for Phantasma, it seems. So I'll kind of reiterate that we built the first NFTs, Brooke built the first NFTs for Phantasma. So we made the initial NFT standard and minted the first NFTs on Phantasma, and we were the first game on Phantasma. So it's, again, to kind of recap, like a lot of the things that have become like foundational for Phantasma were things that we designed and developed like very early with Phantasma stage. So so we did the first, like we designed and did the first mint on demand or Instamin. We did the multi-layer NFTs, nested NFTs with the vehicles and all the vehicle parts that make up the NFT vehicles, and we did the timed NFTs that are the time licenses that were used across Pavilion and Steam. So yeah, so we kind of like were very sort of foundational with Phantasma. Those things that we initially did then got taken to the chain and made be like a core chain feature. But my point here is that like we did a lot of early dev, and like the visions kind of like coincided at that point, which maybe goes to explain why we're still interested in the vision of Phantasma now, because like we feel like this is also partly like the GOATi vision, because this is something that we had from early on with Phantasma. And what else would I say? I mean, just in terms of like what we've done with Phantasma, I'll kind of reiterate, like we've done 23 Racing Series, we've done which relies on Phantasma, we've done Pavilion Hub, which relies on Phantasma, we've done Race Hub, we've done Flow, we've launched published other games on Pavilion Hub which rely on Phantasma Chain, and we've brought other projects to Phantasma Chain like Ascent Resurgence, made by James Hicks, who's a part of the GOATi team now. So we've put a lot of time and energy into Phantasma Chain and using Phantasma Chain. So we have like, not just a vision, but we have like, a lot of like, not even just like technical debt. You just say like reliance on that as a chain, because it's a chain that we've always believed in. As having the right ethos, for what we needed. So moving on from that, like I want to talk about like some of the exploits that have happened. So yeah, obviously the community would be very disappointed about what's happened, and what's been done by, like, I don't know if we want to say the name out loud, but he should not be named. Like these have been things that affected the community and affected us. Like, I mean, from my point of view, I'd say they've affected us a lot. Like knowing how much our projects rely on Phantasma Chain. These were massive for us. Like these were big hits. So yeah, we launched Wonder Man Nation. We were launching Wonder Man Nation, and the first hack happened a week before that launch. So that was a massive hit. We had investors lined up, marketing lined up, PR lined up. We've done a raise on Pavilion Hub, and then before you know it, like it's taken down. Pavilion Hub is offline, remains offline for like 9 months, and yeah, we sort of take a financial and reputational hit with that. So that was huge for us. And then moving forward, we then worked on our track builder for 23 Racing Series and organised a big launch for that. Again, launching on Steam and Pavilion Hub. We've been big proponents of, cross play between Web 2 and Web 3. So for us, having 22 Racing Series available for that launch on Pavilion Hub was like paramount to kind of what we've been selling. And then like a week before that 22 Racing Series launch, Phantasma Chain went down again. So and that sort of took out Race Hub. We put a lot of money, time, and effort into Race Hub and into Flow as well as like announcements of future projects. So we've been massively affected by these exploits. Obviously we're kind of quite disappointed in that stuff. And all that said, like when those things happened, GOATi has kind of had the position of like, we work with Phantasma and we use that technology, but at the same time, we have our own business and we have our own projects that we're trying to get out there, and we're trying to get those to be successful. And on some occasions, Phantasma's asked us and want us to be more involved in Phantasma, but we're really overloaded as a team with our own projects and technology stack, right? So I've kind of resisted a bit, but like my analogy there has always been more like, if we do a good job of what we're doing with our games and we make those games a success, then that success goes to the platform that sort of underpins that, or the technology that underpins that. So for the most part, we've tried to kind of keep a little bit of distance just so we can kind of stay focused on what we've wanted to do. But with the idea that what we do and successes we have will help everybody. Anyway. All right, so that's changed now. So we're obviously now a bit more, a lot more involved in Phantasma. What do I say? So I'll probably start with the vision of Phantasma prior to now. I've often kind of spoken. Well, Billy and I are friends, and we talk quite often. I've often just spoken to Billy about things that I've had taken issue with Phantasma. There's some things that Phantasma's done wrong, in my view, in the past. I might sort of talk to Billy about that on the side, but at the same time, I didn't sort of jump in and tell Phantasma how to run Phantasma. Like, they need to do what they do, and we've done what we've done. But yeah, this is the time for total transparency, and obviously, if there's things that have been done in the past that I think weren't the right direction, then those will be things that will be changing. So now is the time to let everybody know, so you can all know what we want to do and have an opinion on it, and decide if you like that or not. To those points, I mean, I think things that I didn't like about what Phantasma was doing is, I think Phantasma was trying to do too many things at once. That might seem contradictory, considering GOATi does a lot of things at once as well. But the main thing for us is, like, we have a very core focus on gaming and esports and blockchain and crypto. That's a very sort of like clear set. And any technology that we build, even if we kind of do things like, say, we're doing driver training program at the moment with the client, anything that we do is something that kind of brings money in and adds to the technology stack. Or with Pavilion Hub, it was a way to separate the game from the wallets and the inventory, so that we could launch on Steam and on Pavilion Hub, right? So, etc., etc. So all of these things that we've done have all been, to serve the main purpose, which is to make great games that use Phantasma Chain. Whereas like with Phantasma, it's been trying to do a lot of things, like, it's been doing like the chain and the apps, right? So like where you've got someone like Amazon who does like a lot of back-end stuff, or AWS, let's say, who does all the back-end stuff. They don't also make the games on their servers. They have other people who make the games, right? So Phantasma's been trying to do the decks. They've been doing wallets. They've had other initiatives trying to pull to projects in. So it's been very like, been a bit, from my point of view, it's been a bit scattergun. I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be more focused on gaming as a core vision. In terms of the technology as well, I think having I've always said to Bill, like having a core focus on stability and security of the chain, like add block reducers, add RPC nodes, make sure it's just like constant uptime. Rather than trying to like add new features and kind of over bloating a chain to make it do more things. Just focus on the core functionality of the chain and keep it online, and make sure projects can use it, right? Because so in our cases, like if Phantasma Chain hadn't have gone down that first time with Wonder Man Nation, then Pavilion Hub would have stayed online for those 9 months, and everyone would have had a great experience collecting their tokens from Pavilion Hub and a better experience than on other chains that would have been like lifted Phantasma chain up, whereas it went down, and so then Pavilion Hub went down with it, and then it made it a harder experience, right? So simple things like that, just keeping the chain online, focusing on uptime and security, and also like there's a certain limit with a company. Like you can only take on so many projects. It's kind of like highways in vehicles. Like if you've got a highway that's like 1 or 2 lanes, in one direction, then you can only fit X amount of cars before they all get backed up and the traffic jams and people get upset. So same thing with Phantasma chain. Like it's something that's kind of like growing out and trying to get bigger, but you've got to make sure that the projects that are on your chain at any one time can get free access to that highway. Like the highway is serviceable, there's enough people there using it, etc. So because like whenever you take on a project, like when you take on a game as a blockchain project, that comes with it like all the technical responsibilities of supporting that chain, supporting that game with any sort of SDKs that it needs, with any documentation that it needs, with advisory, with any sort of like just like helping them getting things done, letting them know how it's used, hearing their feedback, implementing things that they need. Ideally, you've got like 1 or 2 like foundational projects that you're working with, who can help you to guide that development, and then once you've got that set out, then you take on the next project who can benefit from those features that are being built. So that's the thing that I've kind of often said is you kind of, I know from the community side, communities like to see like 1,000 partnerships a week, and that all looks nice, in the moment, but long term, if those things don't pan out, if the chain can't keep up, or then the chain goes down, then you like A, lose the projects, or through the chain being down, or you B, lose the projects because they get tired of waiting and then leave, right? So, or C, you don't get enough support and then don't know how to use it and leave, or D, you don't have enough users to use those things, and so even if it all goes well, if the users aren't there to use those apps on the chain, then the apps leave, or even if they stay there, they kind of just go quiet, and then it's kind of pointless. So moving forward, so we gave a new vision, which was like to basically like an antidote for these problems. So our antidote for Phantasma and our vision statement and pitch was that we wanted to peel Phantasma chain back to its core tech, like just keeping it simple, stupid. Make sure that it's online all the time and secure. And this is not a thing we can like. These are visions, right? These are not like, okay, it's like day one, it's this. Like this is what we'll kind of be working towards. So keeping it simple, looking at what features are on the chain. If it's not finished, not necessary right now, not being used by anyone, or has some sort of potential compromise that could be exploited, or anything like that. So we're just basically turning those things off and bring it back down to like just the sort of like the basic core tech, which isn't to say it's going to be basic, but just to sort of make sure it's like just functional core tech. So that's again, focusing on uptime and security, focusing the chain on the business of gaming and entertainment. Really having a core vision of like, this is what the chain can do, this is what we sell it as, the features that we make for this chain support these things. Like gaming and entertainment, we like, it's enough. Like if we can do a really good job of gaming and entertainment, then we'll be totally fine. And then people want to use the chain for like social media, like let's say games, a particular game takes off on the chain, and then that brings community, and then that means we need a chat program, and if that kind of bleeds into social media, then great, that stuff can come out of that organically, but we need to focus on one thing and just nail that. And then lastly, like doubling down on the technology and projects that we already have to make them a success. So I often talk about like things being like a honeypot, and this is the thing I've been hearing in other sort of news articles as well about other chains, is if you can have one project that's a massive success on your chain, then other projects will come, right? So that creates a honeypot. So it's like a massive success. If one project can do that, then everyone will take notice, because you've got like users, you've got proven technology, you've got liquidity in the chain, all of those things, right? So so if we can kind of like make one project a success, then we'll all win, right? Any one project succeeding will benefit everybody, and that success will just flow out. So yeah, and sort of back to the point I made before, like to have a successful project, like you don't want to necessarily put all of your eggs into one basket. Everyone knows that phrase, but at the same time, you don't want to just go too scattergun and just try to have a million projects and fail at all of them, right? So we need to really pick and choose which projects we focus on, and make sure we can service those projects. And so to that end, I think we already have great projects, like between ourselves and Stellar Gate, and some others. I won't kind of mention everyone, but like between the projects that we already have some good committed projects on the chain. So I think we've got great opportunity there. So yeah, and just to kind of go over those projects again, I mean, it's not nothing. Like we have actually quite a lot. So we've got Pavilion Hub, obviously. So that's got that's one of the. I mean, this can be a open for discussion, right? But we think this is one of the best blockchain gaming platforms out there. Which, especially if you consider that we made this platform in a few months without any investment. So this is just a thing that we made for ourselves. Like based on all of our own tech, not taking third-party tech. It's a platform that we already have. So this is something we can double down on and use the SDKs that we have to publish more games in this platform. We already have third-party games that are published on Pavilion Hub. So we already have SDKs that have been proven multiple times for developers to come in and use our SDKs to get the games on Pavilion Hub. So that's kind of a bit of a no-brainer. That's an avenue we can use. We still have 22 Racing Series, which we're still adding stuff to. Like we've done our UGC update for the Track Builder. We've got the Race Builder update not far off. Well, not much work. We're not kind of working on that right now, to be honest, but like there's not much work to go on that. So that'll be another big update that we do in the future. And then we've got our Tournament Builder, which is going to get its version 1 very soon, and we're going to have multiplayer extensions. We already have like a Trackmania style multiplayer in there, so that's already there. We can sort of still work with that. Trackmania is obviously very big, so it's not nothing, but we have more stuff we can add. We've got Race Hub. Race Hub, we already have partnerships with vehicle manufacturers. We've got technology partners like Intel, and we've got connections with AMD and Nvidia. So there's more stuff we can do there. We've had invitations by Intel to come to their events with Race Hub. So there's like South by Southwest and other esports events like Intel Extreme Masters, etc. So there's a lot of stuff we can do with that. We've got Ascent Resurgence, massive space MMO, which has already got users. We've got Stellar Gate, I mentioned before. We have Flow, Sin, and Virtue. And then we have Wonder Man Nation, obviously. So Wonder Man Nation, we've already got like a very committed community who are very excited about that project, and the project's coming along really well. So we'll be launching that project very soon. And then there's some things that I haven't mentioned publicly, and we'll sort of save the announcements for later. But we have other projects that I know, like teams that I know who have interest in publishing their projects, sort of either as games on Pavilion Hub or as features inside of Pavilion Hub. Yeah, more information to come on that later. So that's kind of like the general vision. And it's probably worth noting too around the vision of UGC. So a big focus of 22 Racing Series and just GOATi as a whole has been esports, games as a service, facilitating esports and user-generated content. So user-generated content is obviously huge. It's Roblox and it's Minecraft. It's like there are two great examples of projects that have done well with it. A lot of the industry is moving towards this, and obviously it makes a lot of sense in the crypto, blockchain, NFT world where people can make the content and publish that in the game, and then create revenue through royalties of that content. What else? So in terms of the GOATi Pavilion vision, I've mentioned the projects and the strategy, but it's also worth mentioning the technology. So again, this is something for a future AMA probably, but a big part of the reason why it was seen to be like a good opportunity for Phantasma and GOATi to collaborate and work together on the rebirth, let's say, of Phantasma Chain, or the re-envisioning of Phantasma Chain, is due to the downtime that Phantasma suffered in the past. You can probably imagine, like, considering that we did, the first NFT standard on Phantasma, and we did Pavilion Hub, etc. Like, we obviously know our way around, like, creating platforms and blockchain technologies. So you can imagine that with the 9 months that Pavilion Hub was offline for the first time, and then whatever it was the second time around, like a month. GOATi have been working on a solution to ensure complete uptime. So regardless of whether, besides what happens now, if Phantasma Chain ever went down again in future, the idea would be the Pavilion Hub would stay online all the time. So that's been our core focus. But obviously, considering that we're so entrenched with Phantasma Chain technology, to date, a big part of our tech stack is doing support for Phantasma Chain. So even though we kind of like consider ourselves like depends on how you look at, like a side chain, let's say, it would plug into Phantasma Chain, it would plug into other chains. So we've done our interoperability between chains with Wonderman Nation, if people are aware, so you can move NFTs between chains. So that is relying on this technology that we've been using to date. So it's a part of Pavilion Hub. Again, we'll go into this later on, in a future talk. But essentially, we have in Pavilion, we have like a technology that's been working on to have constant uptime, and it's been made to be interoperable with Phantasma Chain. So we presented this technology that we have and how it works and what it does. And the tech team on Phantasma and the business team on Phantasma were all pretty excited about that. So this has been sort of seen as a good solution for, like, not just taking, not just like GOATi taking the current chain code and pairing it back and making sure it's like lean and mean and safe and secure, but also using this new technology that we have and leveraging that without any extra cost to Phantasma, because we already made it to be interoperable with Phantasma. So you can basically just take that benefit out of the box. And it's probably worthwhile saying at this point, like one of the what do you call it, like one of the stresses with the Phantasma team when this last exploit happened, obviously, like the vision holder and co-founder being a bad actor in the chain, that put a lot of people at odds. So you've got, like, obviously the community, you would know that put you guys at odds. And it kind of makes you question, like, why your leader would do this and what's going on. And then, but also from the dev team side, that's the dev team's vision holder, and that's the dev team's mentor as well. Like, that said, a lot of you will know Sergio actually hadn't been that involved in the chain for the last couple of years anyway. So it wasn't as big a shock as it would have been like some years prior. But still, it kind of makes everyone question, like, what they're there for, like, working on this chain in this code that's done by this person who's just done this, action. So, so I think from the Phantasma Chain, the previous Phantasma Chain business side, having, speaking with us and having us be, a team that have been around, like GOATi's been around for 14 years now. We started in 2010. We've been around for 14 years. We've got, proven technology. We've been operating as a business outside of the crypto industry for a long time, doing deals with like massive publishers like Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar, etc., and making our own engine. So we've kind of got that that stability, and we've got that business acumen to kind of like to sort of see this through. And so that brings us to the last point, I guess, of like how we're going to be working with Phantasma Chain. And what's this going to look like? As I mentioned, one of the big parts of us being involved is that we can offer direction to Phantasma Chain. So, again, we've got the business experience as a technology company that's been operating, like for ourselves for over a decade, but then each team member at GOATi's been, with the exception of one person, we've all been working for around 20 years as developers. So we've got a lot of experience in previous companies and with this company about how to run a business, etc. And some of that, I guess, some of that may be kind of obvious from the outside, but like until you've done it, there are lots of little things that kind of add up to making a successful business. It's not just one thing. There's a lots of little things. So things like recognizing the people on the project, making sure that they're in the right role, that they understand their role, that people will respect each other's roles and they're working together without stepping on each other's toes, making sure there's the right communication pipelines between on teams or between teams. Making sure that people are are speaking to the right people or aren't speaking to the wrong people and distracting them. Establishing better production pipelines so that features and general maintenance of the technology and support for bugs and tickets are all going to getting handled in the right order. Again, like I just on that point quickly, it's kind of been a thing with Phantasma that like any kind of bug or ticket that gets raised would get action as a priority. And sometimes that's good, but other times it's bad because like sometimes the feature that someone could be working on as their kind of like core task could be the thing that solves like 1,000 bugs. So to stop that person from solving 1,000 bugs through this new feature or big improvement, to stop them doing a fix for 1,000 people or 1,000 future bugs, so they can work on 1 or 2 bugs, obviously is not the right thing. So that's where you need production managers who can manage those different people and the tasks and make sure everyone's doing the right thing. And then obviously like reviewing expenses, looking at the contracts, making sure the contracts are working, looking at the different activities like marketing activities, etc., making sure that they're delivering, making sure that we're iterating on those and we're learning from those as we go. And then also from the business side, like obviously with GOATi we've got not just the business experience, but we've got like the networks and the connections. So again, like in a lot of ways, those connections, like having been in the games industry for so long, our team are connected to a lot of people, so we know a lot of game developers and we know a lot of companies and we know of a lot of projects, so it's a lot easier for us to bring in new games. But beyond that, like even just working with whether it's like legal experience and legal connections, it's one thing to know you need a legal team, it's another thing to know the right team to go to and get looked after, and sort of negotiating all of that stuff. So technology-wise, what we're doing with Phantasma Chain, first and foremost, just right now during this handover period, we're just working to maintain Phantasma as it is and keep it secure. So we've been taking over all of the servers, looking into those servers, rebuilding some of those servers. Eventually, we'll actually rebuild all of them from scratch, just for the most secure and streamlined experience. Our backend guy, I'll kind of go into our team later on, but our backend guy has like decades of experience with servers. So so this is like his bread and butter. And it's one thing that we kind of can do well with Phantasma. So taking over those servers, making sure that they're running secure, making sure that everything's running well, and then giving Phantasma access to our technology to make it faster and more flexible and more robust ongoing. And then the production assistant side, so managing tasks and developers and all resources to ensure that everyone's working on the most important thing at every stage. All right, so I've got another question which I've kind of seen community bring up a few times, which is about the GOATi team and how this stewardship, if we're going to call it that, it's kind of probably how I like to think about it, is kind of currently structured. What team members are working on what, and will it delay other projects, etc. Like how's it going to affect development ongoing. So to the first question about like whether it's Phantasma is going to delay our other projects, the short answer to that is actually no. So we've got like a dedicated One Man Nation team that are still working on One Man Nation. They aren't moving off that project. That's still their core focus. From my side, mostly like this is a lot of time extra on top of my core tasks. Like I tend to do 12 to 14 hour work days, and so this is kind of a thing that, like, even though I'm kind of getting home late, I'm trying to like do meetings with the team and trying to like get things working in my like after hours. So it's kind of taking a bit of a hit on me, but that said, like I make sure I keep up with the team through their core hours so they aren't affected. On Brooke's side, so Brooke's been working on that technology backend that Phantasma is going to be using already. Like that's the thing that we've already been building for us. We didn't, again, regardless of what happened, has happened now with this kind of like us taking on some management of Phantasma. we considered launching this technology before our 22 Racing Series track builder launch and the Race of and Flow launch earlier this year. We decided to not do that, even though we knew, like, we had been sort of burnt before with that Phantasma chain going down, but we decided to, just run with it as it was, and we didn't finish that tech prior, like earlier this year, and then we all know what happened. So even before this process started, we went back to completing that technology, so that when we launch Wonder Man Nation, the idea is that nothing can take Pavilion Hub and Wonder Man down. So that was already our focus. So that hasn't changed. There's a little bit of additional work in that, even though we were working on the sort of translation layers. Again, you can think about Phantasma chain and our technology. I'll still being vague on that for a reason. We'll kind of talk about that more later on, because we kind of want to talk about that once we can show it to everyone can use it, so that it's kind of like right in front of you by the time you know about it, basically, and it's not far away. But you can think about those to be like sort of as being like side chains to each other. So even though we would have been working on the sort of translation layer between these technologies, we already had to do that work. We'd already scheduled for it, but there may be it's looking like there'll be some additional things that we'll do, especially things that we might have done our part of that and said, hey, Phantasma, here's what we've done, here's how you can use it, and then relied on Phantasma to make those additional sort of translation layers. So that work we'll be doing. So we'll kind of work out who does that, whether it's Brooke or one of the other Phantasma members. We do still have a couple of the original Phantasma devs helping us out with this. So one's in a developer role, and the other one's in a advisory role. So they are still kind of helping out with the sort of the main Phantasma stuff. So that's not been sort of put onto GOATi. And I mentioned James before, so James has been taking over the servers, so it's really his job to make sure, besides the code on the servers, it's James's job to make sure that the servers are online and reachable and reporting if there are any issues, etc. So so James, this is a job that James does with GOATi as his core role with GOATi as well. That said, he'd already done all of that. He's still a few little tasks, but he'd already done most of, like, say 90% of that work for Wonder Man Nation. And we already have things running with Pavilion Hub and the games on Pavilion Hub. So so this extra work on James hasn't taken time away from other projects. It's just been something he's been able to do extra, and that still fits within his standard week. And then I've just mentioned Bill last but not least. So Bill's been doing the production management. He's like kind of a project manager on Phantasma. So he's been the one that's kind of managing the managing Jira, managing the tasks, and doing a lot of the handover stuff, and kind of working with GOATi. So he's kind of technically, I guess, like up until now, he kind of technically hasn't been a GOATi member. But yeah, he's definitely interfacing with the GOATi team now, like a GOATi project manager. Bill also has his regular full-time job, so this is something that Bill's doing in his spare time. So yeah, again, like, kudos to Bill for getting this done, after hours and at night, and through the day if you can get time. So so that's the thing that he's been doing. So that hasn't affected GOATi. And then beyond that, like, I've been interviewing someone to take over this role, or at least assist us with this role. So I'm looking to find a developer who's got company management, business development, like programming experience, etc. Someone who can take over from essentially Bill and I, or at least take 80% of our workload off our hands so that they can do it, and then we can just like direct them and sort of touch in with them to make sure that they're doing their job. So yeah, that's an ongoing process. I've got a few good applicants there. I'm going to be trying to find the right person for the role. So I won't be, like, sometimes having the wrong person for the role can be worse than having no one. So I won't be putting someone in that role just to take workload off me and Bill and I. So if I find the right person, then that's another role that will come in. So at which point, hopefully that answers anyone's questions around, like, who's working on Phantasma, etc. And how that might affect any GOATi projects. In terms of the roadmap, so I've kind of split this out into short, middle, and long-term roadmap plans. So the short term mentioned before is GOATi getting a firm handle on the Phantasma infrastructure. So making sure that we take over all the nodes, that the current chain code is just like as light and core and functional as possible. Anything that's not needed is turned off for now. Anything that needs some improvement gets fixed. And then we kind of we'll be processing and looking at anything that we kind of need to do around that sort of user experience and technical issues. So one example might be the stuck swaps. This is a thing that we're still kind of trying to get our head fully around. We're trying to find out the best user experience for this, but ideally we'll be automating this process as much as possible in future, so that it's a bit less manual and it's a bit more sort of like transparency from the community side on what's going on with that. So that's a thing we're currently looking at. So in the short term, that's what we're going to be looking at from the Phantasma side. From the GOATi side, sort of flowing into the midterm, we're going to be finishing off our technology that we need from Wonderman Nation, and obviously launching Wonderman Nation as soon as possible. So once those things are there, we'll be doing some testnet stuff with Phantasma to make sure that Phantasma and that architecture, that technology work well as a sidechain. So we'll be launching our technology. We'll be launching Wonderman Nation. We have plans to launch Race Hub and Ascent. This is just from the GOATi side, but some of the partner projects can be included in this as well. But we have plans, internally to launch Race Hub and Ascent sort of ASAP. That's been slowed down now by our taking our attention off those projects and putting it onto Phantasma to get that in order. But as we incorporate the Phantasma team into incorporate ourselves into the same sort of vision, we can be using some of the Phantasma team to help with that stuff. So initially it's all us trying to fix or get a handle on Phantasma and keep that operating and keep it going, and then sort of keep it going forward and projecting in the right direction in future. So once we've kind of got our handle on that, then we can start sort of offloading some of our IP to the Phantasma team. And all projects to the Phantasma team to help them help us all, so that they can be running like we are with the Track Builder tournament right now. So we're going to be running tournaments, running campaigns, getting players into the game, getting them into the communities, etc. And included in that, as I mentioned, are sort of other third-party projects as well. So I still need to speak to Stellar Gate, and I know there are some other projects that Phantasma have been speaking to, so I'll be reviewing those, and we'll be sort of reviewing them as a team. Our long-term vision for Phantasma is that it has 100% uptime all of the time, and it's 100% secure all of the time. We'll continue developing our projects as GOATi. Ideally, if all things go smoothly, this sort of stewardship period of Phantasma and GOATi can sort of separate a little bit. We didn't take this project on because we wanted to take over Phantasma and run Phantasma. We still see Phantasma as a community project, and we want to keep it that way. So we're just sort of stepping into sort of the captain jumped overboard, and we're just sort of taking the wheel to sort of help steer it and get the team all working back together. But ideally this ship can run itself a bit better in future, on its own, without us having to be full-time involved. What else? So then also long-term, the UGC tool. So as I mentioned, we've already got the Track Builder tournament going. So we've got we have other race, the UGC, like the Race Builder and Tournament Builder coming soon, and those are things that are going to be inside, on-chain and inside Pavilion Hub. So so we'll be sort of finishing those tools and using those tools, and then having other projects use those tools. So UGC long term for us and other projects. And hopefully making more awesome games and getting a lot of people playing them and bringing them into Phantasma. Alright, so I'm kind of getting to the end, which is good, because we've got we'll kind of give us around 10 minutes for Q&A, if there are any questions. So I guess my final thing that I want to kind of sort of mention is it's kind of the where to from here with Phantasma Chain. So I really want to put this back on the community. So to go back to why GOATi got involved. I mean, we did a little, when it kind of got raised that Phantasma Chain wanted us to come in and just like hear what's being said around like directions and potential sort of solutions, ongoing for Phantasma Chain. We kind of heard those conversations. And one thing for us was like, the reason why we did get involved in those conversations is because we do have a lot of belief in the vision of Phantasma. As I said, we had some issues with the original vision, somewhat, but like, there were alignments between the vision. So we believed in that general vision of a blockchain that's focused on gaming and entertainment. And also the community was a massive draw card for us. Like Phantasma has a massive community of really dedicated people. Like, there's some other projects out there who maybe have bigger communities of people who are in there for the short term, but the Phantasma team have been around, the Phantasma community have been around the team for a long time. They've been with them through thick and thin. It's a real kind of like, I know people sort of can vent their frustrations in the community if things don't go well or smoothly, but at the end of the day they're still there, like, giving their opinion. So that's massive. Like, that's, for us, it's like, the honesty of the community and the engagement of the community is a big draw card for us. So I really wanted to like put this back to the community at this point and just sort of say, well, like, it's this is our vision for Phantasma, our vision collectively. So the sort of the current Phantasma people and GOATi, combined with Bill. So this is what we think is the right direction forward. From here, I'd like to hear from the community around what you guys think about the new strategy, about how we're doubling down on gaming and entertainment. About focusing on getting users involved, about our focus on UGC, getting more multiplayer activity into the games and into the chain. Focusing on, like, less is more, like focusing, doubling down, focusing hard on a few strong projects that we all really believe in, to try to make them the best they can be, and then if they are successful, then other projects can join in, and sort of like let those initial projects be the honeypot for everybody else. Also we believe really strongly that the development direction of Phantasma Chain needs to be driven by developers, so that community and developers, so that like the features that the gaming community need, the games as a game developer, and the community as gaming gamers, game players, what they need. So that's the thing that we want to kind of really lean on the community to help us sort of like verify our vision and help drive that vision forward. So I will now wrap it up. I want to say thank you for everyone. I'll wrap up my talk. I'll throw it to Q&A. So I want to thank everyone. Sorry, it's been a long weekend, and I'm like maybe slightly hit by COVID because of hanging out with Billy last week. But anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for sticking around. I'd like to throw it to the chat group. I'm going to have a look at the YouTube chat and Telegram, and I've got some questions coming at me in Skype through the dev team. So I'll check those questions, and we've got good 10 minutes, give or take. I can kind of go a bit over time if we need to answer any of these questions. Alright, so let's have a look. Alright, so question here, how many team members are still working on Phantasma? Okay, so I kind of answered that already. So how many team members would it be completely? It'd be around 10, I'd say. 10 people still working on Phantasma. As I mentioned, we still have a couple of the original developers from Phantasma. We still have a bunch of the community mods. We've got don't quote me on this. We've got we've got influencers, etc. So we've got a few community mods. The roles are kind of mixed around. We're still defining those. A few community mods, producer, influencer program guy, and then we've got Bill, myself, Brooke, James. So we're looking at around 11, 12. Still working on Phantasma Chain. What are the future plan? to move forward, a question from Sherpa. I think I covered what the future plan is to move forward. If you've got something specific about what I said around our plans, maybe that question came through before I said what I said about the short, medium, and long-term plans. So if you've got anything more specific you want to add, then feel free to send it through. So I've got some more questions from Shapura. So around inflation funds, I did mention at the start of this video, and in the description of this video, that I wanted to really focus on like team vision, roadmap, strategy for this call. There are other things that we can talk about in the future AMAs. So we've got another AMA coming up again. I'll remind you in like a week or so, once Billy is over his bout of COVID. But that'll be soon, right? So anyway. So I'll go through these questions. I might skip a few of them. So the question around after merging, inflation fund, we've got to use own fund for marketing development, etc. Okay, that is to do with business strategy. No, so in short, like no, this money will not be like Phantasma money is still Phantasma money. So so that money was to be spent on Phantasma. That said, the marketing that Phantasma does for the projects is going to be used on all of the projects on the chain. So that's not just us. So so any project that gets marketed, some of that fund will be used for marketing, but they'll be marketing projects. So regardless of whether they're from GOATi or other developers, GOATi have their own money that we use to develop our own projects. I guess one example where it kind of crosses over is like we mentioned before, how our Pavilion technology was going to be something that we used and it was just like separate from Phantasma. But now Phantasma are using that, there'll be some specific things that Phantasma will need to do and we may need to do to support that. In which case Phantasma will pay for those things like the translation layers, etc. Another question from Shapiro, who has like a million questions. When more block producer increases, it sounds like you could almost be talking about inflation, or you could be talking about block producers without the S. I'm not sure if that's plural or not. That is, I can't say on that right now. That is a part of our keeping the chain secure and functional. So that's the thing we're going to be looking at over this in the short term. So in the short term, getting the nodes all transferred to us, getting them operating secure and fast and online all the time. If we need more block producers as a part of that security and uptime thing, then we'll add them. From Cole Crypto, seems like a huge overhead to have to build an intermediate layer to interrupt with Phantasma layer because Phantasma can't be relied upon. Yes. I mean, we would kind of agree. Like, ideally, we would not do that. I mean, if I was to go back to, you could probably see me saying this like 1,000 times. Back when we had the idea for 22 Racing Series, we wanted to do an esport that was like global with tournaments. A part of that design was that we would need a digital currency, and we always said to ourselves, like, God, I really hope we don't have to build that because we want to stay focused on the game, and we don't want to be building digital currencies. We want to just use someone else's and just focus on the game. So that's why we like blockchain. Blockchain in crypto is a thing that can do that. So that was great. So we were hoping that solution was already solved for us. It was a thing that we didn't want to do. But that said, chains going down is not unique to Phantasma either. So in the market right now, there actually still isn't a good solution. I mean, this could be again another topic for another video, but there aren't any chains out there that we've been like 100% happy with. Phantasma has some great things about it. Like, obviously Ethereum has some great things about it. Neither of them are or were perfect. So we've kind of taken the best parts of Phantasma and the best parts of Ethereum and made our own solution for that. I guess there's like just a business risk if you're ever relying on a chain that you don't control, then if that goes down and you go down, then you just have no oversight or intel or opportunities to fix that. So cold crypto, like, even though it's seems like a huge overhead, but after we for us to build this sort of layer ourselves, but after getting taken down a couple of times, it was just like there was just no other choice. And again, if we move to another chain, there's no guarantees that's not going to happen to us again. Solana's been down half a dozen times. Like, chains go down. Or they might there might be an FTX event where you kind of take your eggs out of one basket, put into another basket, and then something happens at the top of that company and it all gets taken offline. So you just don't know. So our solution was like, hey, if we have a nice, secure foundational layer that interrupts with all these other chains, then essentially, we can become chain agnostic, and everything will just work the whole time. And if any one chain goes down, then it won't take everyone else down with it, or won't take Pavilion Hub down with it. Or if we go down, then we've got the access to solve it straight away and as fast as possible. And ideally, it never goes down if we make it right. But if it does, then we can fix it immediately. Shapiro, when BP voting start? So that's a question that we can come back to in a future AMA. But it's not in the short term. Like, right now, we're focusing on security and stability and uptime, right? Mr. Gaddafi Gaming Channel. How much money has Phantasma left to build? Doc told us the last state of chain they would have a budget. They would have budget for like a few months. That's kind of the case. Like, it's not like there's not a whole lot of money left in Phantasma, like in the sort of like the dev kitty. But that's kind of where like GOATi coming in. So right now we're funding our developers. So that's not Phantasma aren't even like so. With James, like, for example, keeping the nodes online and all the work that he's doing, like, that's something that GOATi's paying for. And Bill's doing this currently for free, and the other Phantasma members are like either working for the love of it or for soul tokens. So so there's not a whole, like, we've essentially, like, we don't, there is money left in Phantasma, but it's not like millions. So we actually just don't want to touch it. Like, our thing here is to come in and try to lead the chain in the right direction for massive future success. And if we came in and took money out, that would just like ruin that success. So so that's how we're operating it right now. There's enough money, and there probably is for long, I think. I mean, to Bill's point, like, there's enough money if we like, when, like, with us all working as we are, there's enough money. Like, we're not like, we wouldn't have taken this on if we didn't think we could do it. That's probably a really good point to make here. Like, if we all came in and said, like, as developers, like, I want to get paid, $200,000, and Bill's gonna get paid $200,000, and blah blah blah, and we all just try to take money out of it, like, it would not survive. But like, we looked at the budget, and we said, okay, well, if we do it this way, GOATi takes on these responsibilities, Bill these responsibilities, etc., then we can definitely make this work. So I don't have much spare time outside of the work that I already do. I wouldn't take on another project and the stress of it if I didn't think it was a good project that had potential, and that we could actually deliver if things go well. So that's that. Okay, another question. I don't know why I said question 7. In previous roadmap, ledger support work completed 80%. When we call it 80%. This is like 3 questions all condensed into one. Okay, so question 7. Question 7. In previous roadmap, ledger support was completed 85%. When will it be completed 100%? That goes back to the case I said before about things that aren't absolutely necessary for the uptime of the chain. We're not working on right now. So that's a part of like, how do we make this reliable and functional? So it's still like sitting at around like whatever it is. I don't know if it's 85% or 100% right now, or where it's exactly at, but it's around that. It's basically done. But we have like other fish to fry, and we've got bigger fish to fry. So we're not looking at that right now. We may come back to that like once we've done everything else that we want to do. if ledger support is a really important thing and we have the bandwidth and there's demand for it, we'll look at it then. Soul listing, more exchanges, good decks. Right now, our focus isn't listing Soul on exchanges. So is current 4 decks working properly? Okay. Yeah, so the same kind of question there. We're not currently looking at exchanges and dexes. Okay, and the last question here from Shirapura. What about farming, bridges, swapping? So again, I'll go back to what I said at the start of the video and before the Q&A. Like I won't be touching questions around farming and bridges and swapping, etc. Like that's the question for a later AMA. So you can all hold those questions for just a little bit longer. When they Bill, so it'll be myself, Bill, and Brooke. So and Bill's more across that kind of stuff than I am. Like Bill's doing the project management. He's got all the tickets and he's managing the developers. I'm just like checking in to make sure everyone's talking and doing what they need to do, and we have the vision and speaking with the whole team to try to make sure that we're all kind of doing the right thing. I can't address that directly today. I've gotten through all the questions in the YouTube chat. Let me have a look at Skype. Got a question about Painmaker stuff. So that's worth mentioning. So again, the Painmaker project is something that I'm not totally across yet. I need to have a call with them to work out what they're doing and how we're all going to work together on this stuff. But they are, so Painmaker, the Painmaker team are doing stuff. They're promoting Phantasma and they're doing things. I'm not completely across it, but that's another project that is going on. What else do we have here? So I've got a statement here from one of the team about the guys at Stellargate. They have the same sentiments about where to launch a game on chain, and they about where to launch, about which chain to launch. So regarding Stellargate, again, I need to meet with those guys. I don't know if it would be this week. I'm kind of pretty slammed with other I've got back-to-back interviews and stuff this week, meeting the Phantasma team and meeting some other hires, etc., and then working with my own team. But I want to meet with Stellargate as soon as possible. They had a similar sentiment to us. They reviewed other chains and decided that the other chains were just not fit for purpose, so they came to the same conclusion that we did. So they're aligned with our vision as well, which is awesome. I look forward to speaking to those guys. I've heard great things. I've been asked to mention the University of Illinois. We have a program going there where they are working on a wallet, but there's kind of, how to put this, is why is the word not coming to me right now? A collaboration, an internship, it's kind of all these things. So basically the University of Illinois are using Phantasma Chain to do some blockchain research projects. Bill and I will be talking to those university students at some point. They want to do it straight away, and we're just trying to find the time. It's mostly on me to kind of find the time. And they're doing a little project, a wallet project. Some really cool things happening there. And they'll be talking about doing racing tournaments, etc. as well. Cole Crypto, how are you planning to protect the code from more bad actors? Have procedures been put in place? Yes, that's kind of, this is our number one focus. So in terms of we can separate this into two parts. So we've got the how do we protect Phantasma Chain from bad actors, the current code base, and how do we protect Phantasma Chain from bad actors. I just let slip the name of it. Our technology from bad actors. So Phantasma Chain, so that's all things like locking down the features in Phantasma code, the Phantasma code. Features reduced, contributors reduced, reviewing lines of code, making sure there's nothing bad in there. Yeah, securing the nodes, that's obviously a big thing as well. So even if the code base is secure, if the nodes aren't secure, and someone's got the keys, so yeah, just locking down the servers. That's been going back to James, the server stuff. That's been James's core focus. James has worked with like massive internet companies and DNS servers. He's kind of like, it was like James Hicks was working in like internet before everyone knew about the internet, right? Sort of back in modem dial-up days. So yeah, he's very aware of server security, and he's very strict on that. So making sure the nodes are secure, the code is secure. In terms of our upcoming technology stack, it's built sort of in a very unique way to make sure that it's essentially like unhackable. Like, it's famous last words, right? But like to hack it would be extremely impossible. Basically, to hack our technology stack, you'd have to have essentially everybody inside GOATi be a bad actor for it to happen. So it's made in a way, it's made in a way that like one person can't, like in the Sergio case, it's made that one person can't take it down. Maybe not even necessarily two people could take it down. It would have to be like a sort of conspiracy of three or more, or we could even raise it. So the way that it's built, and we'll use this, I don't want to say too much about it, we'll use this as a topic for another video because I would like Brooke to explain this better in future. But it's written in such a way, or it's not written, it's like, the better way is to say, it's like it's constructed in such a way that it's kind of like just the security is easily extensible. Very simple, and it's written with a very like keep it simple, stupid way, so that the core chain just does what it needs to do, and anything that's additional to the chain is an additional thing, so that like it's not like more code inside the chain that bloats the chain, so there's more bugs and opportunities for threats and risks. So it's written for that purpose. Cold Crypto, is there any time in the project plan for Pavilion Hub UI improvements? To go back to what I said, like right in the sort of first maybe 10 minutes of this video, Pavilion Hub was a thing that we made like super quick, just to kind of put this into context. So if you compare Pavilion Hub with, I won't name them, but if you compare Pavilion Hub with like other platforms in this space, I would probably presume Pavilion Hub is the only one that hasn't had a token raise and hasn't had investors, and has been the quickest. Like, we launched this without investment, without a token, within months, and we've just added features to it as we've needed it. So it's been very sort of like a thing that services the other projects. So if you put it into context, I think the UI is pretty good considering. And again, this is all our own technology. We didn't like take other like open source wallets or open source tournament things, or like Frankenstein these things together. This is all built from the ground up. So that said, it's worth keeping in mind that like we know how, we know what a good user experience is. We know what a good UI looks like. We think ours is pretty good. Could be a lot better, of course. In terms of like us redoing that, we already have a whole lot of different designs for improvements for the UI and the UX. And to be honest, it's not so far away. As in, like, it wouldn't be a whole lot of work to do it. But that said, if we did that, we would want to have we kind of do this on the side. Like, I mean, I actually code in Pavilion Hub, and Brooke codes in Pavilion Hub, and James does some coding in Pavilion Hub. So it's mostly Brooke, second me, and I'm not particularly even a coder, and then a bit James. So ideally, if we were to do like a UI update, it would be we'd have enough money for a dedicated developer who just sits on that full time. Even better, 2 developers. Like we have no one essentially working on Pavilion as a core product. So so if we get enough money for one programmer, like it'd be absolutely bonkers out of sight and would make the UI awesome and would add heaps more features. Like so if you take what we've got already and think about that in context, you can imagine what we'll do with even just one full-time developer. Like it would be pretty kick-ass. So that said, I guess like I didn't mention that we do have plans to do. We have had plans for a while to do like a token raise with Pavilion Hub, but we did some plans and never sat quite right with me. Like the plans just didn't sort of like really click, and we just didn't have time. We just like left it and went on to the other projects. But yeah, with some of the projects that we have lined up for Pavilion Hub, it's really I won't give away the vision just yet, but it's sort of like Pavilion Hub as is slightly got away from its initial, in the same way as Phantasma slightly got away from its initial vision. So we've kind of like have a plan for Phantasma, which is like for Pavilion Hub, which is to take it sort of more back to the original vision. And we've got some really cool projects that we're speaking to who have things that could plug into Pavilion with their communities. I'm trying to like not say too much right now, but we have some plans for that would warrant a really good project launch and token raise potentially. And if that went ahead and we had that money from that, then you could expect a whole team working on Pavilion Hub. So that could be like from the UI side, from business development, SDK support and features. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. A comment from Gold Crypto. Thanks, appreciate the honest answers. I'm comparing it to other game stores like Epic, etc. More from a design perspective. It seems like it's been designed by developers. Yeah, again, like I mean, it's hey, developers. Like, wait, developers design awesome stuff. Like we have we have designers and we know how to make things good, but like if you consider that we made it to function and facilitate 22, like it does that awesomely. So thank you Pavilion Hub and thank you Cold Crypto for the question. Like the polish on top to make the UI a bit nicer and stuff. We would love to do it, and we will. Maybe what I'll do is even share some of those designs in Telegram after this conversation, just so you can see I'm not like bullshitting you. Some really cool like ways of envisioning UGC. Like again, back to the UGC thing. Like if UGC is a core component of Pavilion Hub, how we want people to use it, then we've kind of re-envisaged Pavilion Hub as like a modular style where things kind of slot in. They kind of look a bit more like dim cards, and they slot in and connect, and it's very cool. So look, I'll even share maybe a couple of designs in the Telegram so you can see that I'm not just making stuff up. Alright, look, it's been an hour 15 and I don't see any more questions from anyone. A question from Bill, when Pavilion big picture mode. Yeah, alright, whatever. Working on it sometime, maybe in future. Like things like big picture mode would be super cool. Like if we had, like Steam, I think make around $400 million a month, so like you could criticize Pavilion Hub versus Steam, but I tell you what, if Pavilion Hub made $400 million a month, like I reckon it would look better than Steam. Just saying, that's my own personal opinion. Big picture mode, so that you can just like use it on your like Steam Deck or equivalent, and then just use the controls without having to like mouse around. That'd be cool. Would love it. Help us. Okay, back to the vision, right? If all of the projects, instead of ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, right? If all of the projects on Phantasma Chain do well and the games do really well and the money comes in, then the games will obviously add more stuff, like add more multiplayer modes and add more features and add more support. So so we have these plans as well. You guys would like to see it, we would like to build it. Just because we haven't built it doesn't mean we don't want to. We'd like to be, our company would like to be like 3 or 4 or 5 times the size that it is and have more of these things going. And in my dream world, all of the stuff that the GOATi team does would all be separate, like all within one company, but we'll have like separate teams working on each project, so that each project would just get 100% attention from minimum 3 to 4 developers. So yeah, that's what we're working towards. And again, like with the vision of the chain, if we can all get this reality together, then the projects will make money. We'll double down on all these features, and we can spend more money on marketing, etc., and we can just grow from there. So that's our aim. All right, cool. I think I'm out of questions, everyone. And I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got like a vacuum cleaner going on out in the hallway out here, so maybe that's kind of getting a bit disruptive as well. So all right, I'll end it here, an hour 15. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the chat. Again, like this is back to the community now. Like we want to know if you're aligned with this vision and whether you think we're steering the ship in the right direction. And if so, then let's go. So yeah, jump into the Telegram chat, and I'll try to jump in there this afternoon. Might go grab a coffee and just take a chill pill for a minute. But I'll jump into the Telegram chat, drop some of those Pavilion UI redesigns that we have in mind. And just check in with you all to make sure that, or just to check in with it to see whether, you like the direction. All right, thanks everyone for sticking around. Have a great rest of your weekend wherever you are, and